Councilman?
Charlie was here yesterday.
How was the show?
The show was elevated.
Did you see the Christmas show?
Christmas show was our granddaughter, you know? Because they haven't so figured out. From 2 to 3:30, we went to see tonight. They didn't have that. So we were working. So you guys were having a Christmas show. You know, so the whole time she was controlling it because I'm not so. I think I got it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mark
Okay, yeah. She didn't like the song before.
She did.
No. I used to use
All the Santa?
yeah. That was one of the ones that popped their back. They don't do this one.
This one's cool.
Right, it's a good show.
So I've gone anytime.
And
No, she's.
how old is that? That's the first?
Yeah.
I thought you had her.
No?
Oh,
Not hers.
wow. What do you have to do?
In the rec department in Woolwich, I told you,
On bus trip.
every year.
Yeah.
We didn't do that here. I had a telephone and he would just make contact with Highlands and Atlantic Towns.
Which one?
I had one bus from our parking lot here.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, 2, 3 towns each fella.
I told you that you should go and you get dropped off, you go have lunch, walk around, and then you go to the show, and then you.
Because that's the thing that kills you too, is that you gotta pay for, we used to vote. I didn't figure out what to do with that.
Right.
It comes home in the community traffic, so the vote is, you know, it's so clear, I mean, you pay.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I think, I didn't want to know. I just got
So
to-
you think $100 bucks for a show?
Yeah, some, yeah, like 3 days.
You know, the baby.
No, my wife, me, and Laura, daughter.
So it was probably,
But anyway, now he stops up, he's just like, I do a little bit ahead. Because the other thing is I hire a car. And then nobody has or knows. So that car, I think, is from the pole right in the theater. They drive a car, and he throws the whole theater right back. No, I don't want to mess around with it. Like, I want to be sure with baby shoes, you do it in a car seat. You know, more trucks is driving. He's driving in that.
you want,
Yeah, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to drive a lot more, you know, the sequels.
oh, yeah.
And just take the train right home. But then I was worried about the weather.
What do you mean the weather?
It's really slushy in the morning. How's the city gonna be with the baby and
I
I
mean, they told you last time I went to Metro Park, it was great Independence Station.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I don't want to go play with the taxis from the Penn Station. You know, rather maybe we're gonna be
That's true.
Yeah, I would. So I wouldn't, you know. But it was more, it was 100. So that's fine. So it's actually called the whole little beach pier and stuff right outside with the ferry. Yeah, I told you this, I said, you know, just that pier. What was there? The Borough was 60.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I didn't even think like $60 and then you get that. How's that happen?
That's the hamburger.
Last one would probably get you.
The hamburger's one.
Oh, sure.
Roger went with us this morning. He was called last night to court this morning, and Rich had a procedure yesterday, so we're without counsel today. Judge wanted him in court first And Rich had a procedure yesterday, so I said, forget it. Because he said, nobody else knows anything. Well, so, what are the pays for it?
That's nice.
The option that
Well, no, Mike,
it's a great
you have a copy of that?
I brought.
Okay. Per capita. Kid. Roger was told that we had a conflict this morning, and Rich actually had a procedure, so we're without. And I told him, don't worry about it. And he said, Judge, somebody said they wanted him in the first thing this morning, it's fine. I was wondering what.
Trying to figure out why we have to have a column, the whole door open, and 7 or 8 minutes out.
Well, because we're more advanced than we should be. It goes on at 8:30, so you would probably, I put the cone there, it opens at 8:30. So people were here 20 after, couldn't get in the building. We were too advanced, we should have a key.
Yes. I did. They're working out.
8:30 though.
So,
You move the cone. Okay.
well, I just looked at the charity. Does that door must go in on that? Is that how it works?
We have talks with people, just like a program. Okay.
Is he yours? Oh, nice. Wow, this is great. Oh, great.
Bob? I smell you, Bob.
Guys won't be.
I asked you how it was. You want Bob? Yeah, never asked me. That's me saying.
So how about you call me? No, you're not. You didn't get me. I asked to get it. No, got it. I'm not sitting there.
Oh,
Sure,
sure.
the door's locked.
What do you got locked out?
The public is not yet, if anybody wants to come, we can always
I got it.
Hold on, I'll go down.
What time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see me walking? There was no cone there?
There's a code. Somebody put a code out.
I did. I got Frank, so he appropriate.
I was just reading this wrong, I was by the.
I saw something that looked like.
We need it out.
Something started on. Oh, turn it here.
We got the rig pop, see if we can arrange for it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the rig.
Yeah, well, that's just about there.
Yeah.
I told him to put it down, he would again, it was sure.
Doesn't he need to be present for the closed session?
I'm sorry.
Don't we need Roger for the closed session?
I mean, just do that. No, if he said, look, I would we have to be, go to the judge.
I know.
Everybody's,
Yeah, Roger was told to work this morning, and Rich Shackley has procedures, so we're with that cancel.
Understood. We have personnel contracts as executive session first. Do we still need the closed session?
Yes, I did. Mayor.
All right. And do we want to take things out of order since we have company?
Well, he's going to do the remarks to you. So we'll do that, and then we'll
So we're ready.
Me too.
Yeah. I will start the meeting then. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is now called to order. Let's do a salute to the flag first, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two rights, longstanding policy of the government and in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. I wish to advise you that adequate notice of this regular scheduled meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press and other local newspapers on January 7, 2019. And in each instance, the date, time, and location of this meeting were provided in the notice. This meeting is open to the public. And have a roll call.
Councilman Bertol is absent. Councilman Keeler. Councilman Kelly is absent. Councilman Lapstein.
Here.
Councilman Rooney.
Here.
Councilman Schwartz. Here.
So let's open the meeting with remarks from the audience. So you have members of the public here who are probably eager to be heard on this matter. Yeah. Just say your name and address for our recording.
Gary Dialonga, VIALONGA, company is the Borough Realty Company, on behalf of the Edgewater Beach and Cabana Club, 620 Clinton Avenue, Tinton Falls, New Jersey. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thanks for seeing us. So the reason we're here is in essence to explain to the mayor and council our application for at the DEP CAFR permit. I brought Ray Walker here, Dr. Ray Walker with Mazer Consultants. He's our consultant, and if there's any questions about the application, I don't want to waste a lot of the council's time, but generally, well, I think everybody here knows our beach club. So, you know, this is a little family bought it in 1954. It's been owned and operated as a beach club since then. For about 20 years, we leased it to Merrymakers, who operated the beach club, and we took it over after Sandy and rebuilt it. I think some of the folks here were probably either on the planning board or in the administration. And what has transpired is our general permit that we need from the state of New Jersey to operate on the beach within jurisdiction expired in 2018. So, and Ray has some of the dates, but at the end of 2017, we submitted our application, which in the past was a general permit. Well, it was kind of a simple permit. The administration of the state changed, and the rules for the permits required also changed. We believe we were probably the first club that submitted the application, and I guess the scrutiny given to the application and the way they handled it, basically it didn't go anywhere while they were trying to figure out the rules. So anyway, we were seeking a general permit, and they required us to obtain an individual permit, which is a little more scrutiny, and that was all submitted in that application. Excuse me. We made an application to put a sun deck on the seawall, which we'll discuss some of your concerns. And we can talk about the other permits. But anyway, generally, I think that you guys may have misinterpreted the application because we're not applying for anything new other than the sun deck, and Ray can go through that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was the original permit that was issued to the club was a beach maintenance permit, and it had a provision in there for the movement of sand. And since that permit was issued, the state has changed their policy or procedures on the movement of sand on the beach. They've now come up with a new policy There's going to be a beach replenishment activity occurring underneath the spring where the Corps of Engineers could be replenishing the beach.
Already started.
Yeah, they started a new standard now. The new standard is from what's called their project reference line. That's the limit, the landward limit of where they do their beach filling activity. That project limit line, 125 feet waterward, the beaches have to be maintained at elevation 10. Anything beyond 125 feet that they fill out, you can mine 1 foot of sand. But you're not allowed to take any sand within 125 feet, especially if the beach is less than elevation 10. So they come up with new standards. They didn't have those standards before. Before they had a general permit that was called beach maintenance. And within that general permit, it talked about transfer of sand from the lower beach to the upper beach, and restrictions about moving from the upper beach to the lower.
With respect, Doctor, there was limits on the size of the berms. That goes back from before when I was a council person 17 years ago. That standard has always been a 3-foot berm.
Again.
So I just want to be factual.
From their standpoint, the state never came out and said, what you're doing is a violation. There was never any violation issued until they came in and applied for their permit. And they said, well, it's no longer eligible under a general permit, it's an individual permit. And they were developing these new standards, and while they were developing these new standards, we couldn't submit the individual permit. So we were notified in 2018 that we weren't eligible for a general permit anymore. So that whole summer they were developing their standards. They gave it to us. We submitted in the fall of 2018, or January of 2019. It had to go to the Division of Coastal Engineering before it could go to Trenton for review. The Bureau of Coastal Engineering took 4 months or so to look at it before they had to sign off on these applications. Now, we had a meeting then subsequent to that, and then we submitted our application. So it's under review now. It was out for public comment. The public comment period ended on December 5th, and now the state has 60 days to review and approve the application. That has to do with all the beach fields. So in addition, Edgewater has to put a deck on top of the seawall with the understanding that, they're going to be limited in terms of the sand movement now. So they lose their sand in the beach. They want to have a place for people to sit and, enjoy the shore.
It's for our members, when we believe in the future, if beach replenishment doesn't occur, that the ocean will come right to the seawall.
And the design for that deck is going to be reviewed by the Coastal Engineering Group at Trenton, and has to be signed off and approved by them before Trenton will approve the permit. So we're in the process now of preparing structural design plans for that deck area. And that'll go to Trenton in the next couple of weeks. And they'll review and approve it, or ask for modifications, or they'll deny it.
So do you plan on moving sand again?
No, and we've, in 65 years, we got one notice violation from the DEP. There was some misinformation, there was some correspondence with trade winds, which was completely erroneous. The homeowners association sent a letter also, which was a little disturbing. But no, we're not planning to do it. If we can only move a foot of sand, and the requirements, I think I mentioned to you, they have pre and post engineering requirements. It's just not worth the aggravation. That berm was, in our opinion, very helpful for many, many years. But we understand the rules, and that permit that we're seeking does not ask to build berms. So that was a little misinformation, I think, about that. And Ray can leave all that.
Did you rescind that part of your application?
We don't have an application to build berms.
No, to move sand.
No, the application is going to be simply, and Ray can explain, there's criteria.
If the permit is issued, okay, they'll be required to comply with those new standards that the state has come up with. In other words, if the elevation is 10 within 125 feet, no movement or removal of that sand. If beyond 125 feet, if they do beach replenishment, say out to 250, you're allowed to move 1 foot of sand.
And do you need a permit to move 1 foot of sand?
No, that would be part of their permit. As long as they move 1 foot and not more.
So you do need a permit to move 1 foot of sand?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So in other words, they have the new standards. The new standards be attached to their permit. They'll have to comply with those standards. So they can move up to 1 foot of sand beyond 125 feet if they have enough sand beyond 125 feet.
And if the permit's granted to.
Right.
Okay.
But,
Well, let me just,
sure.
so as mayor, right, I have concerns about the beach that we're stewards of, the public beach, and as well an obligation to listen to the concerns that are brought by the constituents. So, in my own experience, especially after we have beach replenishment, when certain properties berm sand, and when I say berm, I think of like low sand ridge, which is the 3 foot, is how it's defined in our beach maintenance plan that we're in with the government. But I mean the big sand mounds. Those sand mounds rob sand from the adjacent beaches, because the experts will tell you that the littoral drift, the sand goes north, and when you create a hole, sand is robbed from the other places to fill that hole. So we directly see the impact on our public beach when those beach clubs north of us create those berms. Our beach migrates to their beach, and it messes up the whole profile. The Army Corps explains that they design these programs, these sand replenishment programs, to last between 7 to 10 years, and they're calculated to account for the drift and migration of sand that naturally would occur over that time period. So the manipulation of the sand on the beach messes up their profile everywhere, which is why they're cracking down on their standards for that. But I've personally observed harm, not from your activities, but from other activities directly on our public beach as a result of the sand mounting. So as mayor, I have a huge concern about that practice, period. A little bit okay, I get it, but the mountain, where the kids are sledding down with it, so that has been a problem for us. As well, the residents who are adjacent to your club have talked about, that's an erosion hotspot now in front of the tradesmen's homes, mostly it's being replenished. So they've definitely come to us with their concerns about the sand. The second concern that was expressed to us about the potential construction is in the event of a storm, if there was a boardwalk, the potential for flying debris from those planks in the event of a sandy-like storm would exacerbate the damage to the properties across the street as we saw during Sandy. So we put concrete, right, because that's not going to break up in a storm. So in your design standards, if you could consider the potential for storm damage and impact from those materials on the adjacent properties, I think that would address some of that concern. And then complying with the new standards with sand movement should address the first concern that I expressed. But that's where I'm coming from, sitting here today.
We originally proposed a concrete deck, and coastal engineering said no. They're afraid that if you create a solid barrier there and you get wave action, it's going to aggravate the erosion of sand. So they wanted something made of wood. And we modified our design now that it would not be any poles or posts in the sand, but basically be bolted into the seawall with a cantilever. So that's the design right now we're proposing to coastal engineering.
I would believe that
But
people who know more about that
But
than
the
me.
biggest, I think what we don't think everybody understands is where this seawall is located. It is almost, I'm going to probably say, nearly impossible that it would ever affect anything other than our improvements inside the entry that this is the sun deck that we're proposing. There's structures here, and our entire building here. Tradewinds is over there. I think that all the neighbors are behind the building across the street. If there was ever some sort of storm well, we have Sandy, we're going to dissolve it together. But even if there was an event that didn't destroy the whole property, but was enough to do this would blow into our pool and our playground area, and it's completely behind all of our buildings. So it's there's really very little, if any, I don't think there's any possibility that will affect anybody. And to the south of us is Driftwood. So,
The other thing is we applied what's called a winter beach plan and a summer beach plan. Anyone would like to have events after October 31st. So we've shown on these plans where the dams will be in the winter, what structures will be there during the summer. So summertime, there's all this stuff, waterward of the seawall, where the cabanas, the tiki bar, things like that. During the winter, there's that little notch out. That's where the winter events will be. There's a proposal for event tent and a storage area, the tiki bar, things like that.
Well, we do a couple of events every year with the tents. We do a Tigger House event, we do an event with CBA, and we wanted to, in an abundance of caution, put that on the plan so that we don't have any problems with the state.
Yeah, again, we wanted to make sure we covered all the activities that Cover was proposing, so we put all the winter and summer plans.
The other
We're
missing,
just single with our own capital permit, we're trying for 2 years to have a
Okay.
basketball court for them.
yeah, so again,
So-
one other thing that's
How much was yours?
one of the things that was also, we believe, they may be misunderstood on our application, people seem to think we're adding more cabanas, we're not adding more cabanas.
That was a concern.
It was a placement plan, so what we did is we showed areas, because the state wanted to see exactly where we're putting them. Since we don't know exactly where we're gonna put them, we showed areas where we would put them, and, you know, there's no additional cabanas being sought. There was simply a permit in order to lawfully utilize the beach and tucking in the permit for the sun deck, which by the way is a $400,000 improvement. And, you know, I think it's very important for our operation on that.
I was gonna say, I'll be sure to let the tax assessor know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll figure it out.
How far from the sand will we get to?
That is sitting on top of the seawall.
Oh, it's
on top, that's not in the seawall.
Thank you for coming in person to explain the plans. I think it's helpful to actually put eyes on your plans and what you're proposing with the sub deck. I think that makes it more clear. We resolved our own question about your cabanas because one of the residents did come and raise a question about what you had on your beach versus what you had
Correct.
on the file.
And I think they just simply misunderstood the
I
application,
said,
so
we were pleased to see everything matched up.
we're gonna reach out to them too and walk them around. I think they've been over, a couple of them came in as, you know, claiming to be potential members, so they did a little recon. Anyway,
Well, good, I'm glad they could see it.
Do you know if the resident has been informed that there's nothing wrong?
I have not personally spoken.
Okay, I don't know if something has in the town. You may want to follow up with the resident.
Joan, can you do it?
yeah, and if there's any, and I would invite anybody you talk to, you know, leave my cards here. We're happy to talk to them. We always try to be a good member of the community and certainly a good neighbor to our residential neighbors. And, you know, it's difficult. We operate that club in accordance with all the zoning. We got rid of the catering hall when we did the application, which was a non-conforming use. So everything we do there is, you know, under the current zoning, and it's unfortunate that the neighbors will come in and
Well, if there's still
we try to do that.
We keep on.
You can keep up with one.
I just want you to know that the
Yeah.
design for the
Yeah.
it's still draft,
That's right.
has been reviewed or approved by DEP, so
Okay.
keep that in mind. And again, these haven't been formally approved by DEP yet either, so we're still waiting for comments back.
They're draft plans.
Yeah.
Hopefully we address your concerns.
Yeah, that's helpful, thank you.
Thanks.
We are still in the remarks from the audience period. If anybody is here to say anything, any remarks from the audience?
My name is Allison G. I am and I submitted an application to rent the park road, understanding it. I come here weekly for a library, thought it was a good situation, looked into it, was sent an application, submitted it with all my insurance stuff and everything. And then I received a letter that they denied it, they're not renting the party room yet. So I just wanted to see where you are with that, if there's a chance that by February it would be ready. Since we have been using it for, I think, at least 6 months to a year, I've been coming to London.
So, our agenda today actually includes an item called Community Room Rental Regulations. And the council needs to write and adopt policy for rental of the public buildings, so we got out a little in front of ourselves.
Okay.
And I apologize, but I expect that that's going to be resolved rather quickly. Our last meeting of the year is next week, so hopefully everybody's pencils are sharp, so we can get that resolved quickly.
So when it is written, is it something that, I mean, I wasn't trying to wait until the end of February. Would that be a possibility still?
So
I know it's hard to ask that.
sometimes the simplest things wind
I
up
know.
being the most complicated. And so this wound up being one of those things that got
Okay.
fees and how you make distinctions on what's not for profit and what, and so there's a couple of questions that, the council that legal had to answer. So I don't want to speak to it, but, I would like to see it done before the end of the year.
Okay, and if I resubmit, I do want to say, I don't know if this became an issue when you talk about for-profit, not-for-profit. I am just a local person trying to pay. I understand if the fees have changed, I'm willing to pay a different fee. And I did give her a business check because I didn't have a checkbook with me. So I don't want it her to think that it was for a business purpose, it's personal.
So they have your contact information now?
Yeah, she actually sent everything back to me.
Okay, so can we have your contact information so we can keep in touch with you when this is, once we're ready? And this is our clerk, Chris, and she is awesome. So she's the person that you can call for a status update.
So I'll make sure, okay.
What we
And
can do
it's just like you should-
if we do have policy to observe a date.
We'll keep the check.
Okay. I'll keep this.
And also, can you, let's just keep the calendar blocked on that date, just in case we can work it out.
Yeah, it's Saturday the 23rd.
And then we'll keep working.
Thank you. And just when you're doing it, like, Candace was a little bit confused. She was like, oh, what times do you need? Like, I need a 2-hour slot, but normally people come in a little earlier, and I told you that, I said, I don't want you to think I'm trying to rent it for the whole day. Like, it's just a couple hours, but most of the groups that I've looked at in the community do it that way, because you need to drop stuff off.
Okay, well, you have you may have the distinction of being the very first.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Have a good day.
Any other members in the audience? So we have a closed session, and then we have our agenda items. So I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel contracts.
All in favor? You want to leave it?
Did I say anything? I was trying to, if I missed something, I was trying to express what we heard at the last meeting.
Sound like you have your staples.
Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah.
Yes.
I try to make that clear.
Example of how it works.
Everyone for the service. Perfect.
Right?